Jack McKenzie and Josh Neighbors. The Neighborhood Watch on Crystal Ball College Football, our other college football channel. We have many channels. We're like Netflix, or not Netflix. What would we be? YouTube TV, where there's channels.
Some might call it like TV.
Yeah, or like regular TV. That's a good point, Jack. Thank you for also making me look old there.
I don't know. It sounded like you're just trying to sound young.
No, yeah. I'm trying to sound young and hip. And with it, Josh Neighbors is young and hip and with it, and he joins us now. Josh. or maybe he wants to leave because now he's like, this guy's a dork. I don't want my name sullied.
I mean, Josh was the one who was wearing like a full dad get up to Big 12 Media Days.
Oh, well,
so.
Wait, what? Hold up, what?
Yeah, let's go into this, Jack.
Polo, khaki cargo shorts.
Hold on. Was this a conversation in the 365 offices once I left?
Not until now,
no,
apparently.
This was just a conversation you and I had there at Big 12 Media Days, Josh.
This was?
Yeah.
Well, Jack, it just shows you how much I treasure every conversation with you.
Wow.
Look, I'm not a dad, and I pretty much, I got some like sneakers for Christmas last year, and there were New Balance, and that's just where I am in my life.
I'm pretty sure he had the New Balances with I'm
rocking them right
crew
now.
Socks, the higher up crew socks.
I'm rocking it right now. Look, Josh, I don't know how old you are. I'm 43. Like, you just have to accept some things as they come to you later in life.
I'm 26, but I'll tell you what, I have this one pair of black Adidas golf pants, and I'm actually wearing them right now. But like, it is my multi-purpose pair of pants. I mean, if I'm on camera, I can wear it. When I go to do sidelines, which I'm going to do right now, I wear them. So they're functional. They're not too dad. Like, black is a good color, I think, just because it's not like too dad, and I'm wearing a red polo with it too. So I kind of look like half Clifford the Big Red Dog, half, Live Golf Tour golfer. I guess in full weather. So it's a good look for me. It works.
There we go. All right, Josh, this week in the Big 12, I know that like this isn't the, sexy week to end all sexy weeks, but there's some interesting stuff going on. We just had Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle on Houston and Texas. And, there's some for the old guard Houston fans. There's some real bad blood here. And they were really chomping at the bit for this game. Now, I would not want to be the team that plays Texas after that particular loss that they had a couple weeks ago. But Houston has no expectations in this game. They can play free and breezy. While I totally expect Texas to win, I kind of do expect to see Houston maybe put an early scare into them where Texas has to go, we've got to take these guys seriously.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's really weird. This is like one of those, yes, Oklahoma probably got Texas a little bit steamed, but also at the same time, too, like they've had a week to digest. So it's not completely like, we're going to bring, hell with us and here. And also, Houston wins against West Virginia, but like, they've had a little bit of time since then too. It was a Thursday night game. So you're kind of wondering, where is the balance of momentum? Where is each team at? I think that's fascinating. I saw the line. 23.5 is a lot to me. This could easily be a three-score win in the end, but I think Houston's going to do everything in their power to make this thing as uncomfortable as possible. I just don't know ultimately what that looks like. I think there's some serious questions about like what that ends up looking like, and I think Houston. Look, all the new teams had their problems. I think Houston has a chance maybe to look like the best new team this year at times, but they've lost focus a lot this year at times too. They lost focus. Definitely in that West Virginia game. They lost focus in the second half against Texas Tech. They lost focus against Rice for a majority of that game as well. So it's just a matter of how dialed in, how focused are we going to get 60 minutes of quality Dana Holgorsen football.
Yeah, that's been a thing. Look, even in the wins, they haven't done 60 minutes of that. They've had their moments where, like, again, looking at West Virginia last week, without a couple of really bizarre things happening, they're kicking themselves about that too. So, yeah, I agree with you. All right, Tech and BYU. Tech, Baron Morton banged up, but looks like he's going to go. BYU got a little bit exposed against TCU last week. This is, again, for BYU, just, maybe stack some more wins, get yourself to a bowl game, have a nice first year in the Big 12. But for Tech, they've got to start winning games again, or they've got to really look at what they're doing in year 2.
Yeah. So this game is kind of a crossroads game. Not for for BYU, it's not really a crossroads of like, what are you doing just because it's their first year in the league. But talk about their season. I mean, they have been outplayed against basically every team they have played. Like Arkansas outplayed them. Last week they were viciously outplayed, I think is the way to put it. Cincinnati maybe even outplayed them, at least for large swaths of the game. So BYU is opportunistic. The good news for them is Texas Tech might give you the ball. And especially, and here's the thing, like we saw UCF go with John Rice Plumlee 2 weeks ago against KU, and then have to holster that weapon, unsmoke that, wagon, whatever the hell that is said in Tombstone. So is that going to have to happen with Tech? Because every single time they have a banged up quarterback, that guy usually doesn't make it through the game. And this has been a problem. Like Tech, I think the one thing I'm starting to really think about for them, especially under Zach Hitley, is they have to evaluate what they're doing with their quarterbacks because their quarterbacks aren't making it through the game. Last year, they played 3 quarterbacks, and all 3 guys, Morton, Smith, and Shuck, were injured at certain points. They have now played 3 this year, and Shuck and Morton have both been injured at certain points, and to the point where they couldn't even, both those guys, Shuck's done, and Morton injury prone. They need to protect him a little bit. They have to reconsider what they are doing. Now, is that something you can do in the middle of the season to great success? I don't know, but I still think Zach Kitley's a good coordinator and he's young, but he's an air raid guy. And you kind of have to dial back from the air raid principles, right? I think Kendall Briles is somebody who really understands how to use the running game and an air raid offense. He also forgets he has running backs at times, which really gets confusing. But he almost needs a little bit more Kendall Briles in him, I think, to some extent. If that makes sense, guys.
Yeah,
and I'm not thinking about is perfect.
No, I mean, look, it's not. I mean, I think that and look, as someone who is probably an amateur expert on the Briles offense, having seen it here in action.
Seen it a few times, Paul?
I've seen it a few times. There is that they're either super into the running backs or it kind of forget it for a minute. And sometimes it's just based on who's back there. I don't know. It is. Right. It's not Tom Herman egregious where somebody had to tell him you recruited and signed B. John Robinson. He's right there. He's right there. That's him. Number 2. He's there. That way poor Sam does not get bludgeoned to death. Just maybe give him a break. It's not that.
We saw strong at 3 picks last week. It's they got to find some way to protect these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because whether it's confidence wise, whether it's running the football wise, whether it's health wise, they just have not found a way to do that yet. And I'm excited. I think Joey McGuire is going to be good. I think it's all going to work out for them. But sometimes, look, the big thing for me was when K-State was a dark horse last year. K-State has done this a whole lot, where it's we live at 7-5, 8-4, and you can see it coming. They've got the team to do it. Texas Tech this year, what did they do last year to make me believe that all of a sudden they're going to start punching above their weight class? They got by Texas because Texas lost focus in that game. And then they beat Ole Miss at the end of the year, and they beat Oklahoma. It's not a good Oklahoma team. And they beat Ole Miss in a bowl game. Everybody's like, uh-oh, here they come. And it's look, they have not they're not winning at Mike Leach levels because Mike Leach consistently did it. They have to get there first before we start talking about them as a contender. I know winning's not always linear, all the way up, all the way down. TCU showed us that. But the program like Texas Tech, you got to show me some consistent defense. And at least this version, you got to show me some quarterback health. And they have not done either. Now, that being said, I am not going to bet this football game tomorrow. Texas Tech is a better team. The line reflects that. But do I trust the quarterback situation going to BYU against an opportunistic team? No, I don't. So get me the hell away from this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, you mentioned Kansas State. They're going to roll with 2 quarterbacks. It appears that Avery Johnson, after last week, has found his sea legs, and those sea legs move really, really fast. Fast. He is going to be a problem. Right. It's one of those things where Big 12 coaches are like, he's a freshman? Great. Thank you. This is wonderful. Like, I've got at least 2 more years of this crap. Great. Thank you. Like, couldn't find his way to another conference. Please. But yeah, he's going to be that kind of guy where he's just going to cause problems. They welcome TCU, who got the big win. Josh Hoover made the start. I'm not ready to jump in and say TCU has fixed all their problems. I think that they certainly rallied around Josh Hoover. If this one was in Fort Worth, I might feel differently, but I think that Kansas State throwing Avery Johnson out there has kind of changed their game a little bit.
So let me posit something to you, Paul and Jack, and I'd love to hear what you all think about this. So last year, Adrian Martinez is the quarterback, right? And he's not the right quarterback for a team that's got good tight ends and good wide receivers, plural, and good running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield, particularly one running back who's very good at catching the ball out of the backfield. Right? Will Howard, as a good passer, is the right guy. Okay, flip it ahead 1 year. What's the problem this year? Well, the wide receivers aren't too great, and they have one guy who's an 8-back tight end and Ben Simmons who's open a lot. But Will Howard is being forced to throw balls into really tight windows, and it's not going very well for him right now. And the strength of this team is the offensive line. And actually, the running backs are pretty good as well, too. So I think Adrian Martinez would have been a good fit with this team. I think Avery Johnson, in the same vein, is a good fit with what they're doing right now. And so I'm wondering, I just don't know how to square this because, I think Will Howard is good. I think with what we've seen, he is a good quarterback, can be good. But what this team needs on the ground right now is Avery Johnson to kind of make the offense hum. But guys, when they punch above their, when they play Texas, who would you rather have in the saddle back there, quarterback? I know Avery Johnson might be the hot guy at that point, but I don't know how to square the performance thing with the trust thing, but I do think this team is better off with a running quarterback at this point in time. I think this team is a better fit to that. So that's kind of where I am on K-State, and I don't really know what that means moving forward.
Yeah, I think you got to ride with the playmaker right now to get a spark, and maybe that's what it is.
But can he pass? Can he pass it all?
I think he's getting a little bit better with that, but they're going to have to. Their passing offense is going to get pretty narrow, I would think, because it's going to be focused on running the ball, and then their defense has to play, which we know how their defense can play with Chris Kleiman. Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, if they lean into the RPOs, make the reads as simple as possible, and help out those simple passing concepts by running the heck out of the quarterback run game and an option run game, then I think they can get it done. I think their ceiling is lower than I thought it was heading into the year, definitely.
Yeah,
but
I do think. Yeah, and you mentioned the wide receivers that Cade Warner. It was a huge loss for them. Was,
and Malik Knowles.
Yeah, and Malik Knowles. Both guys, not you're not. They're not Justin Jefferson, right? They're not Jamar Chase. But for that offense, Cade Warner and Malik Knowles were perfect. And you don't just get to roll. Sometimes you got to readjust, and that's where maybe they were a little deficient. You can't replace Deuce Vaughn. That guy's not there's no Deuce Vaughns just laying around, but you can with Dylan Giddens and with Trayshawn Ward, you can have a really solid running game and make up those yards in the aggregate. You're just not going to have maybe the explosiveness that a Deuce Vaughn has because that's not the, you can't expect that. You got to cherish those guys when they come. So yeah, I kind of agree. You have a nice little theory there, Josh. I think the neighbors theory of the Kansas State offense needs to be tested in academic circles.
And also too, I've got no solution for what's best for the offense. This is me being I think we all realize what's best right now, yes, is the running game. But what happens if that begins to dry up some? What happens if Texas pushes them around a little bit? And they don't need to bring a ton of pressure to stop the running game. They don't have to dedicate a lot of the resources on defense. What if the guys up front can help get the job done and things go out? Can you just go back to Will Howard all of a sudden? Or you kind of, what does that dynamic look like if things start going sideways? TCU's got good personnel, but they have not been executing at a high level on defense this year. So I'm curious to see what that looks like this week.
Yeah. All right, Baylor and Cincinnati, the all...
Do we have to?
Yes, we do.
Have to?
Hey, if I have to, you have to.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, this one's tough. I mean, because both these teams are in a funk right now. They don't really know who they are. They haven't figured out what they do really well that teams can't stop in particular regularly. Cincinnati has the advantage that this game is at home, but Baylor's played better on the road in the last year, not just this year, in the last over time. On the road than they have at home. They're kind of like the Astros in that regard. Although not that good. But yeah, there's just something about this game that I don't think whoever wins it, you're going to be able to take away too much from unless they follow it up with other wins.
Yeah. So, I saw the spread was Baylor plus 3.5, and I'm gobbling that up because like what has Cincinnati shown at all that resembles confidence? Pitt is terrible. And that is the good win. After that, Pitt, they have not won a game since then.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think they've won a game since then. And, that was well over a month ago. And, look, I think Scott Satterfield knew it was going to be tough. And that's why, honestly, on my show, Neighborhood Watch, I celebrated that Cincinnati win because I did not think many others would come, and they haven't. And it's exciting to see they've had a fun home field advantage, man. They have. But that started to dwindle. And Iowa State took it to them last week. They really did. That game was not particularly close. Baylor has had some time, it feels like, to think. And I think they're going to come out of that bye week, right? And so I expect them to be prepared. I expect them to go on the road. And we've talked about the talent gap for Baylor compared to other teams in the Big 12. This Cincinnati team is not particularly talented. So I think when we're stacking things up here, this is a game that Baylor wins.
Yeah.
It's a game they should win.
I picked against them because there's something fundamentally off with Baylor right now because
Paul,
you say
you
that.
You can have Emory Jones. You can have him. You can wager. I'll let you take that every day of the week.
Yeah.
What does Emory Jones show that he's confident? He's terrible.
Yeah.
They keep trotting him out there acting like there's going to be a different result each week. The guy's not a Power 5 quarterback.
No, and he's been at 3 different Power 5 schools.
And this is objectively the worst one, the worst performance he's had so far.
Yeah. No, I watched him a lot when he was at Florida, and he would have those moments early on where you're like, oh, this son of a gun is good. Holy cow, yeah. He's athletic. And then he has Emory Jones just needs to find a way to play in the middle of his talent. In the middle of it. But right now he plays in the extremes. It's either, my gosh, this is one of the best athletes I've ever seen, or dear God, what happened? And that's what his problem's been his entire career is how can you keep riding that wave of those extremes? All right, we're not going to talk about UCF and Oklahoma because I think that UCF does not have the run defense to stop what Oklahoma's going to have at them. But Oklahoma State and West Virginia, really intriguing one in that it's in Morgantown. West Virginia's coming off a tough loss, and Mike Gundy might have figured his team out, which is really scary for teams they play down the stretch because as emotional as he can get, I think the real skill that he's always had is when he figures out what he's got, he doesn't stray from the plan.
Yeah, it turns out as opposed to playing 3 quarterbacks and handing the ball to Ollie Gordon, they should play 1 quarterback and hand the ball to Ollie Gordon. That seems to be the working strategy. I don't think Allen, I don't know about you, Paul. Kansas' defense is not very good. So, I don't really know what I'm supposed to say. Alan Bowman played well. I want to give him that. He played well. I don't think Alan Bowman's really good all of a sudden. I just think, and look, this comes from folks that I've talked to that have played the game. You need to have one voice in the locker room. The guys need to know who they're following at quarterback. And so you pick the oldest guy with the most experience, and the game scripts for them have been really good. And I love the way they fought back last week, and they got that big stop at midfield, and they closed the game out. And so I think this team is finding a rhythm. Did I think they were the better team last week? No. But they out-executed Kansas. They got the big turnovers they needed against Kansas. And so I think with that, this is an execution game, right? This is, can you hit a couple more big plays and which quarterback does not make the crippling mistake, the crippling turnover. And guys, I think in a game with a margin, you think it's going to be pretty tight. The crippling mistake could be that 15-yard penalty we saw from Garrett Green after the celebration last week, right?
Yeah.
I think when you're playing narrow and tight games, mistakes like that can be the difference. And I know it sounds, we're watching all these West Virginia games. It's not one-way traffic. They're always pretty close, just at the nature of where they play. They're getting a little bit healthier. And they also have an extra day, with having that extra Friday. I always like having that extra day. I get the Friday and the Saturday after Thursday night games to recover, going home. So, I mean, if the number is anything above 3, I'm taking Oklahoma State. I think West Virginia wins, but I think it's like 21-18, and I'm 51-49, one direction, that way right now. But just because they're home, because you're right. Like, there's a reason why I always say, like, if Mike Gundy is the best coach in this league until you find me another coach who's better year in and year out. And this team is, once again, not particularly talented like Cincinnati, but man, whenever they need to play, Ollie Gordon or Colin Oliver too. We do not talk enough about that. He was awesome last week. So good. Such a great college defense. I don't know about the NFL, but I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he's a tremendous NFL player too, but he's just a damn good defensive player in college, man. He was fantastic last week. And so he makes big plays. Ollie Gordon is the genuine article. And I'm fired up for this game. I'm fired up because it's two really good teams that have been well coached this year that play close football games.
All right, the big one this week is Ohio State and Penn State. I'm taking Penn State just because I think that James Franklin is due for the signature big-time win, and he's got a defense that is just choking people out right now. I think it'll be one heck of a game. I know it's in Columbus, but he's won there one other time before, so I think, and honestly, I'm thinking 21-20 kind of a game here for Penn State, but it is a total coin flip if there ever was one, much like Oregon and Washington last week and Oklahoma and Texas the week before.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those who blinks type situations. And I'm wondering, I think we've seen it so far. Michigan's got their own issues, but are we headed toward a situation where Michigan's maybe 10 points better than both these teams on a neutral field, maybe 10 to 14 better? I think that's possible. I do think that's possible. So I'm really curious to see who takes the big risks in this game, right? You mentioned that choking out. Is Ryan Day going to put the ball in Kyle McCord's hands and say, all right, buddy, go win this thing for us? Or he's going to, they're going to try to be like, all right, let's see who makes the mistake. Let's make Drew Aller make the mistake. Let's force him to 3rd and long. And so I think whoever takes care of the ball better in 3rd and long and hits a couple more explosive plays is going to win this thing. I do think it's a narrow game, though. I think it's one of those games that feels tight. Now, these teams have gone back and forth before, but I think it's one of those narrow situations where this game just feels tight, and it's like, oh, don't make a mistake kind of type deal.
Yeah, I agree with you. Josh, enjoy your game tonight. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, fellas, it's always a pleasure. Keep that dad look up, Jack. Keep it going.
Josh Neighbors, Neighborhood Watch, Crystal Ball, College Football. Like and subscribe to that channel. And